Power BI is free. Microsoft is giving it away. The catch is you need a company email when you register, not a yahoo.com or a google.com, but you'll need a company email because behind the scenes, it's really working with an Office 365 framework. And so you need that company ID. What I can do is, if anybody's interested, I can spin up a harborview.com ID for you if you'd want to play with it and you don't have access to your own domain or your own company. But I would go to the Microsoft website. There's a ton of information on there in terms of videos, how to use it, and how to play with it. And you can see down in the bottom there, that screen, you're taking lists or data tables or spreadsheets and turning them into interactive dashboards and reports. And there's real value in being able to do that. This is part of what I present for my pharmaceutical clients, in that rather than just think of it as another report or something small, it's really a big deal being able to use business intelligence. And again, you can go online and Google BI, but basically it lets your customers, and especially leverage the data you've given them, the systems you've built. It enables them to make better decisions. It consolidates this data because you can combine data not just in your Access database, but if they have other transactional systems like an ERP system, if they have spreadsheets with data that are related to but not part of your Access database, you can trend. And so it's a big deal. It's not a whiz-bang technology, but when you think about it properly, it's a big deal. This is the type of information dashboards I build for pharmaceutical companies. FDA is just asking the industry to supply metrics and things like lot acceptance rates and percent complaint rates. And that FDA is literally asking, or actually now with regulation, requiring companies to supply this data independent of or prior to an audit. And rather than just sheets of data, I'm building out tools for them that they can leverage that data and work with it. I actually just presented at a conference in Bethesda last week. 150 people, got about 70 business cards, and it was fantastic. Now, the sad thing is, not to sing the blues, my rental car was ripped off. I lost $10,000 worth of pharmaceutical of computer equipment, those banners, those screens, everything. And I'm scrambling to rebuild. I haven't recovered any of the property or settled with any claims yet. So I'm a bit of a scramble to get back up and running today. So these presentations, Andy, help me get focused to sort of recreate what I need to moving forward. So anyway, talking about how we can use Power BI in this demo. So I wasn't able to log on to the server that Andy talked about, but same deal. I took the Northwind database that we all know and love, and I uploaded that to an Access web app, just like Andy was showing you, and configure it to accept connections. So if you go into the info for that app in the Access interface, you can see there's some choices you can make, and what you want to do is enable from my location, enable from any location, and enable the read-write connection. And then view the read-write connection info. You can get that Azure database information so that you can connect Power BI to the data, or I'll show you the use of a data mart, so another Access database to that info. And so if you go into Power BI, you can see this down below. There's real simple. As soon as so what I'm showing you the desktop app. When you go into Power BI, you can download and use the desktop application. It's a Windows app. Yeah. What I'm showing you is creating your importing your data and creating your visuals in that desktop app, and then you publish it out to the web so everybody can get to it through a web interface. So everybody following me? Everybody keeping up with me so far?
Yep, so far so good.
Any questions or anything before I continue? Nope, okay, good. So this is the Power BI interface. So you just connect now on an Access web app behind the scenes. Remember, it's an Azure database. So you choose here your data at Azure, but you can see how many other connections you can make to Excel, to an Access database, to on-premise SQL Server, to MySQL, tons. And when you go into that Microsoft website, you'll see you can link to and mash up data from multiple sources. But basically, we enter in that information we got from the view connection info, and now exposes it, links to that Access web app, shows all the data. Now, when you make a connection this way, it prefaces the data tables with Access dot, and then you've got system info and all sorts of things. Here, I'm just selecting your core Northwind tables, categories, customers, employees, and I'm bringing that in to the Power BI app. So I'm bringing in that data model. This loads everything. You don't have to worry about it. And then you can see here over to the left, up top, I'm looking at the visual screen underneath in the upper left-hand corner of that app. You can see the bars I kind of selected. I click down to the relationship model. You can see it imported that data and actually makes the relationships for you. Now you can use Power BI and the query tools to create all your queries. You can link tables together. You can do all of that. But I prefer to use Access, and I'll go back and show you what I do in Access, because I find Access just made, and those of us who know and love Access, rather than use a tool that maybe isn't quite as sophisticated in terms of building your queries and data models, I prefer to use Access. But for now, this is showing what actually happens in Power BI. And it's these relationships are key. Now, again, this data schema is a transactional data schema. And so when you look over to the right under fields, you can see I have multiple tables. I have the categories table, the customers table, the employees table, and it's all the individual tables in the transactional system. And you literally drag and drop, and I'll show you how to do that, those fields into your visualization area. And you can see here I have page one visualization. It's like an Excel sheet. If I want to add another, I click that little plus sign. I can add another, but this is where I build my reports. The difference between an online analytical system or the self-service tool you would want to provide your users to leverage the great databases you've built for them, you'd really just have one table per business process. You denormalize all these fields that are spread all around. You'd add what's called a time dimension, so you can look at things over time, and I'll show you how you construct that. But at the end of the day, here, instead of 5 or 6 or 7 individual tables in a true BI app, you'd have just one query, one data table that's completely flat table, and then your users can just drag and drop from their heart's content. But here, when it imported it directly, you've got the multiple data tables all the way over to the right. And you've got your visualizations that you choose. Do I want to look at a chart, a table, a graph? And so what's neat, so here you can start to see the reporting capabilities. So when I add everything in, I've got 830 orders in the Northwinds database. Over to the right, if I click on company, if I click on that second company, it immediately filters my data in that list of orders and the number of orders to just reflect that company. And what you'd want to do, you could do this in Access, but here's an example in Power BI. In the Northwinds database, the model that I have, there's no total cost. You remember that you multiply quantity times total, and then you'll subtract off the discount. So you build, you can see up top, I have new measure and new column. A new column, basically a calculation or something you do at the row level in the data table. A new measure is something you build that would aggregate across all your records, so that when you do a pivot or a filter, it's doing a calculation and a sum over all the records. But here I'm just showing you quickly how you create that cost field or that cost column. Now I can add cost in there. When I click, it now calculates the total that customer, that company has spent for us. And again, just click. There you go. It filters and you've got your info. Now what's neat is now you can start to add visuals. I can just drag over, and in my visuals, say down in the bottom left, I want to see the number of orders per customer, and over to the right, the total cost or spend per customer. And you can see on the right, I turned on the labels, so you can actually see the number of orders for a given customer. And all this data, just as a reminder, here's a type of report that you get out of the sample database, the Northwind database. And I see sales by category, and there I see chai, $5,071. Here's the equivalent of my Power BI. I just click on beverages, and now down below there's a time slicer. It turns out the report I have is filtered for 95, and now I see the exact same information in the Power BI visual. My total cost or total is $5,071. So that's neat, and that's just the verification of the extraction of the data coming out of the Northwind database. And now I mentioned where that's all well and good, and you guys can get in and play with it. Where there's some learnings is flipping your knowledge or working with me. Frankly, what I'd like to do is build consulting for Access developers, get them up to speed, but also I can quickly build for them BI tools for their clients. If they have an existing app and they're supporting it, a Microsoft database they built, and again, it doesn't have to be a web app. It can be a desktop database. It can have Microsoft in the back end. It can have Gen in the back end. It can have SQL Server in the back end. I can help you subcontract for you and build out real sophisticated BI tools for your clients. So an example of, I mentioned, this is the transactional schema. There's a book, and there's a lot of information on the website from a consulting group called the Kimball Group. And they've written a number of great books, so you can get them up on Amazon. The Data Warehouse is really their seminal book on business intelligence and what's called dimensional modeling. And you can see over to the right is the idea there is you build out your tables, you do an extract, transform, and load the data from the transactional database, and then model it that you have for each business process, what's called a fact table. In the case here, it would be the order detail table. And then you link around that the dimensions that you want to look at that information by. So I want to slice it by store, slice it by customer, slice it by time. This isn't from the Northwind, but it's conceptually basically the same to show you how you want to build the schema and do that transformation with that access data so that you can build a very simple but powerful BI app. So if I go to a data mart, so this is a data mart, separate desktop access database. I've linked it to the data, in this case, that's up in the web, in the Northwind's web app. And you can see over to the right, I've got my link tables. But now I've created not queries, but actual tables. I've extracted out all the information that's relevant for customer, and I've made that the dimension table for customer. Everything for employee, made that the dimension table for employee. Now, why is that important? Well, that's important to my business where you may have 10 different manufacturing sites. Their individual on-site databases may refer to employee, may refer to first name, last name, may refer to other field names, each in their employee tables, all tied back to an employee ID. So what I would do to build that dimensional table, I'd work with the sites, not get them to change their field structure, but I'd have a transform query that would take all their field names, combine it, aggregate it, do whatever I need so that I have one version of the truth for employees, and that's my employee dimension. And I'd make that a table so that when I do the query for the facts, those those things don't change that much. You don't add a product that often. You don't add an employee that often. And so you make that a lookup table under change control. That's your dimension table. And it's your fact table that's dynamic. That's just a query querying that transaction table. So there you see my dimension tables, and now, and at the very bottom, you see my BI data table. And there's that star schema. You see my fact order details. That's simply a query that's querying the information around order details, but it's linked to my dimension tables that I've built. Now, when I run that data table query, there's just my big flat file table. And you can see what's neat over toward the right. I have that location supplier. You can see I've aggregated in my supplier information or my customer information a location field that basically sums up everything in the database about a location. And that's handy because you'll see when we link that to a map control, it does a good job of rolling that information up to a map. So that's an example of kind of you have a dimension location, and you do that once in your query, so that every time that transaction table updates, boom, that query is making you that location and pulling together that into a location column. And so now here's an example of what you can do a little bit more sophisticated in a Power BI app. So you see over to the right, I just have one data table now. I don't have my 8 data tables. And so this one data table is for orders or order details. And again, for your client, if you want to give them self-service capability that they can build their own reports, they can query their database in that hoc manner, you've now simplified things, and all your fields are just in one data tables. Now I've expanded that out, and those are the fields I drag and drop into my visuals. And again, you can simplify the field names. You can hide what maybe isn't of use to the employee, but make it simple so that they can just drag and drop things. So here you can see I'm doing something a bit more sophisticated with the data from the web app. And again, this is querying live. My data marks on my desktop, but it's got the live link back up to my web app. And so everything, when I refresh, everything comes down from that. And you can see here down to the bottom right are my various dimensions. I want to filter by time or by quarter or by beverage. And then those are just some list visuals that I can sum up the total by supplier, by category, by employee. I can turn those tables into visuals and sort them kind of top to bottom so like it's Pareto, so that every time I click, it'll give me a quick visual. What are my top 3 suppliers, or what are my top 3 employees in terms of that cost or that revenue? And here's where I told you can do visuals. This is real neat. So I can just put in a control, a visualization tool and a slicer tool. So by country, I can just click on a country. I click on Germany, and boom, it automatically filters. And the size of each circle are the number of orders at location. You can see there. Now, you can actually take this, don't do it now, but you can take this information and you can log in to what I'm going to show you, the Power BI site that I've set up, and you can play with those visuals and things and take a look at it. So I'm giving you, at least for a little bit of time, access to what I've set up that you can log in and see it. But some of the slicers you can do are very sophisticated. So here, if you get that time dimension right, there's an example of some controls that you can see down at the bottom. I can see, do I want to look at my data by month, by year, by quarter? I click on that period, and as I drag and drop, everything updates dynamically. It's very cool. So why don't I go to some real data now and bring
While you're doing that, Richard, there was a question that came in through the chat window from Giorgio. He's asking if the data is totally denormalized and if there is there no need for referential integrity.
Well, so your referential integrity is maintained by your transactional database, presumably. Your relationships and your controls, so that the data that's captured and is so your source database or databases maintain your integrity. When you write queries, here I'm just logging in to my Power BI. So your queries that you're making, or to create functional tables, and then your links, that star schema you're building for your data mart, that matters, that relational integrity in terms of your lookup tables that you create. And the art of, it's not so much totally denormalizing, because like I say, you build those dimension tables. One of the challenges to get our head around is Power BI is increasingly building what they call time intelligence into their controls, so that you can look at things over time, but it's not fully implemented as a net. And there's an art to creating what's called your time dimension, and how you normalize and link back to your fact table. So that's where the information, I steered you toward that book by Kimball, Learn About Dimensional Modeling. And it's a little bit tricky in terms of the information that's on the web if you Google it, because a lot of the guys that have been working with Power BI, because it all started in Excel, they're coming what's on the web is kind of focused on using your data from an Excel perspective without all the great ability of linking tables and managing those linked information and access. So it's a little tricky to find the information, to bridge the gap from Access to Power BI and how you do dimensional modeling. But boy, it is worth it, is what I'll say. And again, if anybody wants help, has an ad hoc question, it's tricky learning how to build measures to aggregate information like percentages and things over the data. But again, a little bit complicated to go into here. I can give, if there's an interest, I can give another example into basically how the presentation on dimensional modeling and start to show people how to bridge that gap. But so, does that answer your question? Is anybody there?
Yeah, most of the people are muted, Richard. So
okay.
So I'm waiting for them to reply in the chat window.
Did you hear that, Andy? Did that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So here I am. Here's the aggregation of the Northwind data. And again, I can click. I love this. I can click on the year. And everything changes for that year. Which is pretty cool. There's a little bit of a lag because of the CPU. I got myself just a cheap laptop until I find out if I'm going to be able to recover some of the material I lost. But here you can see I just click that button and it tells me the count of orders in 96, the total amount. I can combine that with that one category. So there you go. I had 96 orders for confections totaling $61,000. And I can see over in the upper right how much for each employee, over upper left how much for each product. And again, that's a confection. So you can see the power of this in terms of being able to answer questions about your data. If I go to charts, here's that same type information where if I just want to look at confections, all the data I have, I just click, and there you can see total amount by supplier. Frey is my my largest contributor for confections across. If I go to dairy products, there you go. I have another supplier that contributed $153,000, and I can sort these if I want to look by performance in terms of employees. I can go here. I showed you that in the post how to change that sort. But now if I go to location, and again, this is up on the web, so if you log in like I did, I think you need Internet Explorer 10 or later, Firefox. Most of the more current browsers support this. But here's my maps visualization. If I click on France, there's my orders, and I can see here if I click on this, at this location, we had $21,000, and so here the size is proportional to the amount of revenue. And if I actually click on that, there's my $21,000 in revenue. There are the orders that contributed, and those are in 16 orders. And so at my own pharmaceutical, when you have this on a large touchscreen monitor, or if you have a touchscreen monitor in your conference room for your clients, to be able to do real-time updating just by touching a circle or touching a button, incredibly powerful. In terms of reporting, there's a tool out called Power BI Tiles. The 1 week link I'd say right now is in reporting in Power BI, although they do an update every week, and I'm sure before long it'll be integrated. But now you'd have to take a screenshot if you want to include this information in a report. Or there's a third-party tool called Power BI Tiles, where you can take any of these visuals or dashboards, stick them on a PowerPoint deck. So each slide could be one graph, and then those are live links. So when you're ready to distribute and that deck, or maybe turn it into a PDF, you refresh that deck, all the data in that deck updates, and then you can distribute that PDF as a report, which is pretty neat. So here's an example of the time dimension if you want to look at information over time. So here I'm going to look at information by month, and then I can drag and expand this. And how cool is that I can drill in or drill out by a month? And here I have the ability to create range that I filter by, so that looks a little bit better if I go to here. I go to all 3 years. So you can see up top I have a line chart. Here's my individual, these are actual days sales for that day. And now if I want to zoom in on using this tool, you can see I can just pick an area and see the information for that area. So depending on what you're looking to do, that can be real handy. And again, I can see what is the, look at it by employee. There's a performance by employee. Or I can look at it by a branch. And then again, then here I can turn this into look at it by quarters. And I can just look at the last 3 quarters. If I drag this over. So for confections, a total of $81,000. For everything for the last 3 quarters, $652,000. And again, I can see how much each employee, the top 3 employees for that period. Now this I like, an example of visualization. You know, this is something else. This is just showing how in a small area, again, you can combine a lot of information. And I didn't put a lot of time into the elegance of this. This literally took me about an hour to pull together. today, and so most of my time was spent installing Office, setting up my computer, getting everything all set up. So these are more just whiz-bang charts rather than any thoughtful design, what each of the screens would let you drill down on. But there's all sorts of elegance if you have a good design sense that you can bring into this. What we got here? This is an example of a visual where you can do your sales, and again, per month, but now I can look at it right on the chart by category. Cool. If I click on one category, there, of course, in the upper two, I'm just pulling out that category, but down below now, I'm seeing by employee what was sold. And then these are my employees for that period. So, you know, through uses, you can provide like filtered views and basically pull together a presentation deck that for management, you have visuals that you update. And so you have a monthly summary that maybe you compile into a PDF chart. I call the data I build operational data marts because I would build in that desktop data mart my typical canned reports that I'd also include. Typically, your list of sales for that month, your list of sales by employees. So you can turn that into a PDF, have these screenshots, and you can build a very sophisticated monthly report, quarterly report. But as you can see, the real value in some ways is teaching your the employees who use the databases you've built how to do this dynamically and answer questions and look at trends and explore what the data is telling them above and beyond what a canned report would let them do. And I hope I'm giving you a flavor of that in terms of the sorts of things you can do in the calculations. Here you can group it out instead of by category. Again, now I'm showing what my performance was across years. This is what Margaret did in 94, what you did in 95, what you did year to date in 96. Now it's a little misleading because in that the North Winds I have like maybe half a year's worth of data for 94, full years for 96, half a year for 95, half a year for 96. But if you want to look at it by month and things like that, again, you can start to see some real subtle trends in terms of performance and comparison against other years, previous months, against regions, things like that. And then finally, what's real neat, if I can find this last one, I showed you that. I can get to 1% on time. So because, for example, in the Northwind database, I have a requested date and an actual ship date, I can calculate 1% on time. And so here I have 809 orders. These are, now the way I did this quick and dirty, it's counting the detail records instead of the individual report records. But basically, I have a 96% on-time shipment. And I can pick any month and see that on-time shipment. There I can see here are my 2 late orders. There are my 2 late orders. If I spend this out, I should update, and there are my 14 late records. So you can see, you can start to do performance metrics by supplier, you know, that sort of thing as well, which in the real world can be real handy. And so here's an example of here to the desktop app, which is my authoring tool. And then that's what I publish up. Here's my desktop. Here I'm looking at I got here? But here, size of each circle is a supplier. The size of the circle is proportional to the number of orders. The x-axis is a function of the total amount of the revenue generated by that supplier. And then up top is the total percentage of on-time shipments for that supplier. So if we so here, I'm going to shrink this visualization. And now I'm going to do a year visualization. So there's my slicer. And I want to look at this by quarter. The quarter. It's querying my denormalized table and giving me a slicer for quarters. And then I'm going to add another slicer for category. That over. Hide these. Now if I click on quarter, it's updating all of that in the time dimension by quarter. Or I can do time dimension and category. So here you can see this guy here, especially biscuits for confections, an on-time rate of 94. These guys are going down into the 80s. Only six orders. But this guy is generating a lot of revenue, but he could be upsetting his customers with the poor on-time delivery rates. So it's something you want to be aware of. And so if I look at it, it's this Healy. If I want to see my actual orders, which are late, I can come over here, grab the table visualization, and then load that visualization with my order ID. My order ID. And I don't want to sum that. I want to actually see the individual order numbers. And then I want to add this. I want to add supplier. So here I just call it company supplier. And then I want to add this. I'll put in here the total amount of that order. And I also want to add this down here. This down here. I think this is what I called it. Yeah, what I call that field that said, hang on, let me go find it. I want to show the on status of the orders. I'm just going to see. Jeff is what I call it. So I come back here. Look for my field shipped. That. Now, if I click on this guy down here, there are my 6 orders. I had one late. That was my 83%, so it was only one. And there was a total for that period of $8,000. So it shows you how any given business situation, how you can help your users. I think you can see they can get almost the answer to virtually any question they'd want very quickly. Here I've designed that report. I'm going to call this E2. And now I'm going to publish that. And it will take those new visualizations and chart, and on the Power BI website, and we replace everything. Now here I'm doing an override of the data. There's what they call the personal gateway. There's all sorts of things you can do with Power BI. But bottom line is you can configure it, and I'm going to go to the website. You can let these updates either every night or automatic, every hour or automatic, and you can get the data out. What I can't show you that I demoed at my exhibit is there are free iPad apps or iPhone apps that let you see all this information on the web on your iPhone or your iPad. And on your phone, you can give an alert if my percentage goes below a certain level. I can get a notification and a ding on my phone, and you get that typical behavior. And now let's just see if I can refresh what's going on here.
Richard, to make something like that happen, does it cost more money to have it
yes,
alert you?
Yeah, so I think so certainly not to do the basic visualization on the phone. Where you can get what's called a Power BI Pro account, and that's instructed within the custom organization, and a security letter for your alerts, and that's $9.99 a month per year. Or you can create shared accounts depending on the structure of your company.
Okay, and then is there any fear of people, let's say a manager going in and messing up your dashboards, or is it kind of a read-only area where they can click on things but they can't change anything?
Yeah, so again, they're called content packs, and the letters is it content packs they distribute. And when you build those, you can create Office 365 work groups that they go out to a limited group. You can use Windows authentication to get in. You can set privileges if it's read only or read write. And you can set it that they can take what you've started for them and then take that as a starting point. You can share the data model with them so that they can build and answer and further investigate the data, but they're working on their own local copy at that point. They're not altering what everybody in the group sees. So again, pretty sophisticated and getting better every week with the updates. They update web services, Power BI area weekly. If you go into the Power BI blog, get to that website and look for blog. That's a great source of information. Again, more and more videos and everything else are coming out, but they update in that blog once a week what they've done to the web service, and they update the desktop authoring environment. Typically every month, there's been an update every month with more and more functionality added. So great tool, great framework.
All right, cool. And if I know we're getting pretty close to the end, we've got about 2 or 3 minutes left.
Yeah,
and I want to open it up. But what's the best way that people can learn Power BI and start using some of the stuff that you're doing?
Yeah. So Microsoft, again, they have done a brilliant job providing tools and videos and PowerPoints, and there's a whole YouTube channel. So I would just go on and explore. There is a ton of information. Now, if someone wants to go and tell me if this works, can someone just go to powerbi.com and then log in with this just to see if it works?
And I've opened up everyone's mic, so if you want to ask questions while someone's doing that, you're welcome to.
And was this helpful? Was this useful?
This is Andy. I mean, I definitely find it useful. I think it's really interesting. I know that there are ways. I played with the Power BI tiles and pulling that into an Access web app, and so it showed an iframe with with it there. But where I got lost was connecting it to the data. So I'll have to do some investigation work and see why that link wasn't happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll play with that, Andy. I haven't played with that yet, but I think that's a real good point. I just think it's phenomenal that you can explore your data in such a fluid way instead of the static reports. I just think it's incredible.
Yeah, this is Walt. I think it's great the way that you can connect to so many different data sources as well. In addition to Azure SQL.
Now, do you guys agree that it's a great follow-on activity that for any of your customers, clients that you've installed an Access database or maybe a SQL Server in the back end, that now you can go back to them and there's almost a whole aftermarket for giving them this type of a tool?
Yes.
Hi, Richard.
Yes.
Can you hear? It's Lucy. I noticed that the slicers that you were using, I've not seen them before in the Power BI. Is that something you downloaded and added extra?
Yeah, so there's, if you Google, so one of the neat things Microsoft has done, they've made all of the visualizations open source, and all the code for them is up on GitHub. And people are now starting to develop custom visualizations and put in what's called the Custom Visualizations Gallery. And so that's why you could see when I go to a report that has a custom visualization, and that slicer, which looks a lot like the slicers in Excel, that's a custom slicer, so you have to enable that when you first hit that report. I'm assuming Microsoft will be working with third-party developers or internally, and one by one, these visualizations that are now custom will make their way into the actual palette of visualizations. But some of the neatest visualizations are in that custom visualization gallery, Lucy. And so this one, the slicer I showed you, is called the Chiclet slicer. It's neat because you can put images, you can do all sorts of neat things with them.
Okay, and is the link for that somewhere in the Microsoft Power BI site, or is it separate?
That's kind of hidden, but if you Google Power BI Custom Visualization Gallery, you'll get to it.
Thank you.
Simply download it on your computer, and then when you're in the desktop authoring environment, you have those little 3 dots where all your visuals are. You just click that, and you can import it. I can show you real quick. Basically, I would go right here. I'd import the visual. And these are examples. This is the one that you're referring to, the Chiclet. So if I open that, it's now a choice.
I just pasted in the chat window the visualizations I found.
Now, are you able to, is anybody able to verify this is working, that Power BI link is working?
I did not, because I was already logged in as me. So
Lucy, can you go to powerbi.com and just enter that?
Yes, I will try it.
See if I can copy it and paste it in. there's the link, and you can just cut and paste. Did everybody see that come up? The user and password info in the chat room?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe, hold on a second.
And Richard, if you don't mind putting your email address and contact information in the chat window.
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
Yeah, just make sure you choose send to everyone in there so they can get a hold of you. And while I've got everyone, Richard's agreed to kind of do a follow-up presentation on this. As tonight we have the Access Web Apps user group as well. So we're going to be going, I'm going to be spending a little bit more time in SSRS and the reporting side of that, and how to connect to SSRS and how to download reports. And then Richard's going to give quite a bit of this presentation that you've seen here, and we'll be able to ask him a bunch of more questions and do some step-by-step examples of how to build a dashboard from scratch and do some things like that. So if you're available tonight in a couple hours, that would be great. You're welcome to join us. Just the website for that is just AccessUserGroups.org/access-web-apps. I'll put that in the link window as well, chat window.
Okay, I just tried that login. It didn't work for me.
Did you get the Power BI? Did you get to the sign-in?
Yeah, just let me try it. I'm going to try on another browser.
What browser are you using?
That was Google Chrome, but I was already logged in as myself, so that might have, I tried logging out and going in. I'll try.
Yeah, that's one problem I have with mine. I have it auto logging in, so whenever it goes to the page, it just automatically logs me in. So I should change that. Richard, I see in the Power BI visuals that there's one visual called Enlighten Aquarium, and someone had mentioned that at the MVP Summit as well. Have you played with that to see what it actually does?
I have not. What's it called?
It's called Enlighten Aquarium. In the link that I displayed, it's about the third one down. It just looks kind of odd. I was just curious if you'd played with it.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
May have only put one C in the password. Yeah.
Okay, now I've just tried in Firefox. It didn't work there.
Is it giving you a password reject, or is it?
Yes, it says we didn't recognize your user ID or password, so it could be the password.
Okay, so what I'll do is, Andy, I'll figure it out. I probably just copied and pasted. I did everything in a rush today. I probably messed up the username or the password. So what I'll do is I'll give that to Andy, and Andy, you can email that out to everybody.
Sounds great.
Is that good? And I'll also give you my contact info. And I love this stuff, so I'm certainly available, and I'm good at this. So to answer any questions or to help you navigate, or also, like say, if you want to set up a business relationship where I subcontract out, I have 5 computers, all my business cards for that conference, and so if I can get some short-term revenue through the Access aftermarket, I'm certainly open to it as I rebuild my pharmaceutical side. So I'm open to any and all discussions on that.
Great. I appreciate it, Richard. And I put my email address in the chat window, and I think Richard will add his in there as well. If not, as long as you have my email address, I'd be happy to email you Richard's contact information as well. So, Well, we're almost about 10 minutes over, so I'm going to sign off. I really appreciate everyone joining us today, and we meet every 2 weeks, so we're going to be meeting again on December 1st at 4 p.m. same time, and I look forward to seeing everyone there. Thanks again. I appreciate it, everyone.
You bet. Andy, you still on?
Yeah. I was just gonna mention to you. I did record this session, and so if there's any changes that you want, let me know. Or if you want to, we always post the Access Web Apps one. We don't always do the Michigan Access User Group because it's more of a Q&A session. But if you're cool with putting that out on our website, that'd be great.
Oh, sure. You betcha.
Okay.
Here, I'm going to do one last cut and paste. I think I just typed everything wrong, so I'm going to put a bar in. Everything under that bar should work. If you can just stay on for a second, Andy.
Sure.
We can make sure that we got it. So let me get the link.
As people were leaving, they give me some really good comments. So I think the meeting went really, really well. I appreciate you helping out.
Oh, it's a game changer. I mean, the pharmaceutical industry is very sophisticated, and they're under a regulatory requirement to submit some of this information to the FDA, and they're just clueless how to do it. And I'm sure that goes, they're a very sophisticated industry. I think most industries would benefit. Okay, so here's the link. Login. That's the login. And then here is password info. There's nothing quite like pressing the buttons yourself. That should be the user ID, and then that should be the password.
And Richard, I'm also going to invite you to the demo that I have for that I'm using for the SSRS part of it. So you can
Great.
So you have access to that. You should have read-write access to it. So if and I'll even send you the direct link. I'll email it to you.
Yeah, I think you have to go in and open up connections from any location for me to get in.
I thought I already had that.
Okay, then I should be able to get in. Then when I was playing with it, I was in the middle of office installs and things, so let me go try. And so I tried to go to a live link to what you put up. I'll try again.
Yeah, and if you're able to go in, what I did is on the main page where I did that reports screenshot, if you scroll down, you'll see my BI workspace. Right now it says workspace without dashboards, but that's where I was trying to link it back to the Access Web App data, and that's where I was running into an issue.
Okay, I'll explore that also because that's a neat functionality actually.
Yeah.
You know, and again, my installed client base, and I can help you with it, pull together some dashboards and show them, you know, they've been working with their databases. You can take them to a whole different level with some of these tools.
Right. Yeah, I do think it could be huge. I know that Lucy has been working. She's been trying to learn it as fast as she can. So it was good that she was on, and I know she's interested in it. And Walt has expressed some interest in, you know, he's been starting to do some stuff with it. So I think it's really timely.
So, like I say, those other tools are still tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Here's kind of a framework for you to think about how organizationally I present this.
Yeah. And I've got to cut us off because I need to feed my wife and pets before they start screaming at me. So
no problem. I'll show you three.
Yeah.
So these are misaligned. To get aligned, a data-driven culture, you can get total synergistic alignment if you have one version of the truth of all that data.
Cool. Yeah, I like that.
So get the Power BI, kind of like 5S for data. This was for a company that has lean. And so there you go.
That's a cool graphic. I like that.
Yeah. All right, my friend. Well, listen, were you able to get into that? Did that site log in?
I did not try because I was logged in as me trying to get this other stuff to work. So okay. I didn't try that one.
So the last two sections, copy and paste, and that should work for you. And let me know if there's a problem.
Okay.
And now,
that sounds good.
And now I have to log in at 7 o'clock?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Take care.